Hi Cancer, how are you guys? We are a different setup today. My ring light, since I didn't bring an extension cord, it's not long enough, the cord, so the lighting's off. Sorry, background is off. We're just gonna have to push through it anyways. If you like this and you want more from me, one, consider subscribing if you have not. Check out my website, This Heart's Voyage. I do personal readings. Check out my Patreon for more content from me. More exclusive content for me on Patreon, This Heart's Voyage. Venmo and PayPal if you'd like to tip me, This Heart's Voyage. Also, I do super thanks on here now. So, yeah, check me out on other channels if you would like to. Appreciate you guys a lot. Check out my website. I'm releasing new tarot prediction candles. I wanted them up yesterday, but like you can see, I am discombobulated right now and just going with it, going with the flow. So anyways, let's get into your reading, guys, and see what you have coming in. I hope that you guys enjoyed the Gemini readings if you watched them. The Cancer one wasn't great, honestly, because that was a low vibe in Cancer. And they initially tried to take over the reading with a message that was not directed towards the Gemini at all. It was a Cancer wanting to confess love towards somebody, but it was not the Gemini. It's like they just tried to take over the reading and make it into a Cancer reading. So some of you have very strong energy. You're very persistent, possibly, or you're dealing with somebody that is very persistent, but that felt like a manipulation, because if that is the same person, they tried to take over the reading and flip it towards something else. And then when I directed it back towards the Gemini, it was, negative towards the Gemini. So hopefully that's not your person, because if so, they're lying to the Gemini too. They're manipulating a Gemini. Anyways, or you are. In that case, I don't dig that at all. You need to be honest with the Gemini before you try to pursue another person, because that's going to blow up in your face for real. All right. What do you guys have, Cancer? First card is coming out as loss. This is the last card for Gemini, as well as resourcefulness. So it might be that you are dealing with a Gemini, in fact. There is some sort of discovery going on through communication, through maybe even study. You're through travel for some of you. Some of you might be going on a trip soon. If so, you're going on a trip to the southern hemisphere somewhere. I get that, or you have. Or for some of you, it might be that like you're looking into your DNA. You might have got like a DNA test and you're finding out, get that southern hemisphere is relevant to you discovering more about yourself. And it's like, as you learn more about yourself, you're starting to recognize that there was a loss in your life that at one point kind of consumed you. But now you're starting to recognize that that is not really the life that you wanted anyway. I don't know. It gives me like Eat, Pray, Love. That, I haven't watched that movie since like it first came out. I know it's a book. I never read the book. I'm not a Eat, Pray, Love type of gal. I might live the Eat, Pray, Love life, but I'm not going to read about it. It's just not my genre. I don't really read for fun anymore. I genuinely enjoy like self-help books. I used to. I don't really read self-help books anymore. I enjoy learning, so I read to learn, honestly. My read to enjoy things, learn. Somebody had it doesn't matter. Sorry guys. So I pick up on like stray energies sometime, and I like to answer the question for that person, but then it leads us down a rabbit hole. Somebody had the like thought of like read for fun. I read to learn, and that is fun for me. I don't read I really like to read. I think I've always been that way. There's been a couple books that like got me, but for the most part, I actually enjoy reading like books on religion and myth, because I like to be able to learn something from it. I like to, like, what I read, be able to use that in what I do. Not so much to like read just because there's like a storyline. I know some people, I think readers are really smart, and I think readers that's a great thing to do, because even if you're just reading because you like mysteries, or you like one, it's better to like, you know, actually read or listen. I like audiobooks too. I like to listen to audiobooks while I'm like walking. I feel like it opens your mind to another perspective, which is good. And also, like, people that read a lot tend to have really good vocabularies too. Callie, you're snoring. We've got the excuse you. We've got the pup crew here. Most of them, not all of them. Anyways, I know we're like 5 minutes in. I've got to regroup. I've got snores coming. I should put her. Callie, stop. That was a foam shoe. Please, this chunk of a dog, she can handle a foam shoe at her butt. Okay, anyways, focus. There's been a loss here, but the loss was, it's Saturn in Pisces loss. So the loss was like a karmic lesson almost. Mars in the 6th house. I get here that there was some sort of like criticism. I'm telling you, it gives me eat, pray, love energy. That like, I think at the eat, pray, love, do you want to go up on the couch? Then go up on the couch. I'm not stopping you. Okay, good. You can't see her. Okay. Now that we're all settled, can we all settle? Anyways, Cancer. God, it gives me like eat, pray, love. Like, I feel like at the beginning of the book, of the movie that I watched, it's like she's engaged, right? Or she's living with somebody, and then she recognizes that that's not the life that she wants. I don't know. Something happens. There's a loss. I don't know if there's a breakup. She loses her job. Something like that. Something happens, and then she's like, well, I'm going to go and do this trip that I've always wanted to do. This is that energy for me. It's either, because I get this discovery, Mercury and Sag, but I get that for some of you, it might be like, it gives me like, you might have found out recently that you have Egyptian heritage that you didn't know about. You want to travel and go to like the homeland. You're learning more about your heritage, and it's or you've traveled to somewhere in the southern hemisphere, but it's allowed you to open your mind a little bit to the fact that a loss that you took, something that you thought was a loss, was actually not, because whatever you have lost is not in alignment with who you are. There is some sort of criticism. Somebody has criticized you when it comes to like, with the 6th house, like how you live your life, like whether that be like health wise, the job that you have, the effort that you put in, like your work ethic, health, you know, working out, eating, your organization, 6th house things. Virgo. I get here that either like a relationship ended, or somebody just said something kind of harsh to you, and there might have been a time that this really affected you, but and I get that it has affected you, but it affected you in a negative way, where you felt like, you know, through the loss of this person, through this sort of criticism, through like losing a job, whatever, they criticize the way that you eat. This has offered some sort of self-reflection though. It's allowed you to kind of recognize, with the sun in Cancer resourcefulness, who you are and what you're not. Anything that you have lost was not really meant for you long term, you know? So by losing something, it frees you to move towards something better. Let's say that like you lost your job. That gives you the opportunity to find another job that you might like more, a work environment that's actually a lot healthier for you. And without the loss of that, you might have stayed in that job forever and you weren't really happy there, you know? Yeah, 5 of Cups, something in your past here that it felt like the end of the world when this happened to you. It felt like your world was falling apart. This was a major loss that you took. And it was a loss that, again, I'm not being repetitive. I'm trying to communicate the energy to you. Channeling is a form of translation. I am receiving messages, but sometimes I get words and phrases, especially from ancestors, but from guides, it's more so of like a feeling, an inner knowing. So then I have to put that into words to translate to you. So sometimes the translator can struggle because what I'm feeling doesn't translate into what I'm trying to say to you. And it takes me a little while to find the story, the sentiment, the phrase that is accurate on what I'm reading. A lot of people get used to tarot, watching tarot from people that don't channel or that are not actually good channels of spirit. And I'm not saying that I'm like the most superior, but I'm saying that recognize my gifts and my talents for what they are and accept what I'm coming with so that you can learn from what I'm saying, or you can understand that this is not what I want, this is not what I vibe with, and find someone else. It's not that people need to change to conform to what is easiest and, best for you. Sometimes it's that you need to kind of learn from people that are different. And that's what this is really, is that, please, Cal, you're distracting the hell out of me. She's getting mad at me. You can't see her. I'm like trying to hold her paw and she's like aggressively pulling it away from me. This was not really meant for you. And I get that this was a really difficult loss that you took. And for a long time, it's like you internalized it, that something was wrong with you. And I get that with criticism, there might have actually been. Like somebody might have like again, let's go with the thing that you were fired. You thought that this was your perfect job. You were happy with this job. You didn't see this coming. So not only was this a major hit to like your plans in life, I also get with the criticism, something that this person said, somebody said to you, you really took to heart and it hurt you. But I get here that it might have been valid. Like, you get fired because you're slacking on the job. And, at first the ego kicks in that, I wasn't slacking, how dare you? I get that, it might have actually been that you were slacking and you weren't putting in as much effort as you should have been. But it might be that was because you needed to go towards something else. It might have been that, your specific talents, for some of you, it had to do with the Gemini or, again, the Cancer, Queen of Cups. This might have been towards towards a Gemini. But the criticism, you can allow the criticisms from others you can take it in an ego way, or you can look at it from a higher perspective that another person's criticism of me, some of it might be valid, but some of it might have to do more with, they have expectations that are unrealistic, or they feel like other people need to conform to them. And I don't need to conform to you, what I just said about like the way that some people get mad when I like stand up to viewers. They don't understand that this is a channeled message. So people that watch this that are here for the right reasons, a lot of times me correcting somebody is something that resonates with something, they need to correct somebody in their life. They need to start standing up for themselves. You have to view things from a higher perspective. That, like I said, sometimes, somebody criticizing the way that I read, it's because they're wanting somebody that uses tarot and tarot only, and that tells you this is what this card means in terms of what I read in a tarot book. And that is because they have a very, I don't want to be rude here, but that's a very elementary way of viewing tarot. And, they need to stick to new readers, people that are just beginning, or people that aren't very intuitive and that read tarot just for what they read in the book. This is the definition of this tarot card, that's their own journey. And that has nothing to do with me. I use tarot as a tool for healing. I use it as a tool to confirm that my channelings are in fact from spirit, because it's confirming this for you. So you know that I'm not just sitting here ranting. I am channeling for you, you know? So again, on the flip side, somebody criticizing me like, hey, you only post once a month. You should post more. My ego side can, you know, kick in that, well, that's all I can manage right now is once a month. And, you know, you should be thankful that I post once a month for you. But I can also, on the flip side, be like, well, I should be grateful that people continue to tune in and want more content from me. And maybe I should make more time for YouTube so that I can post more, you know? I don't think that you have to take a criticism, you know, I don't think that you have to take it personally. And I don't think that you have to take a criticism as, you know, what this other person says is like, you know, the word of God. But I think that when you recognize that that's coming from that individual's perspective, you don't have to take it personally, but you can also see that receiving another person's perspective that's different from yours can sometimes help elevate you. And I get that here is what you're recognizing is that you are a very resourceful person, and that if you're able to take, so both of these have the crow here, the raven. This gives me like an alchemy, you know, taking this loss and being resourceful with it, using it to better yourself in some way, especially with the loss as a Pisces card. The resourcefulness is a Cancer card. So subconsciously, 12th house, 4th house is like your foundations. So there might have been some sort of like subconscious block that you had. But now that this has been revealed to you through this criticism, through this loss, you're now able to kind of take this subconscious thought, recognize it, pull it into your consciousness, and use that to build a better foundation for yourself. And because you have come to this realization, or you are coming to it, you can be optimistic that better is coming for you, because the bottom of the deck and the last card are both Sagittarius. Callie. She is so mad at me right now. She doesn't like when I do readings. This is, she's bothered by my readings. She doesn't like that I'm like speaking right now and not acknowledging that she's in the room. This was always a problem with me when I first started doing tarot. I was living in a studio apartment at that time, and my desk was right by my bed. So I would be reading tarot and she would be laying like 2 feet from me, very much like this. I don't know, that's kind of like a deja vu moment, taking me back to like my first couple of months on YouTube doing tarot. She would always be doing that. She would snore in every video really loud, or she would do what she's doing now, where she's like breathing loud on purpose and like glaring at me. You know, I hope that you're like getting here that, cause it's interesting that the bottom of the deck and the last card coming out are both Sagittarius cards. Bottom of the deck is a Mercury card, and then the last card coming out is a Moon card. So your Moon is like your emotions, your inner state, and the Mercury is like your mind, your thoughts. So you've learned something about yourself that is actually very powerful in allowing you to move forward with more stable foundations, a better foundation. It's honestly, this is a tower that worked in your favor, which is what a tower is meant to do. Towers don't come into our lives to, you know, ruin our lives and to mess everything up. A tower comes and it knocks away what was not on a stable foundation so that you can move better, you know? You bought a house that looked nice from the outside, but when you got into the house, the foundation was cracked. There was major flaws within the house. And you recognize that, shit, I thought that I bought this house and it was perfect and everything was good. And now I'm realizing that like I have to knock it all down and start from scratch. One, that sucks, because you really had thought that you were going to be able to just come in and, you know, go about your day the way that you thought, the plans that you had. But our plans aren't always in alignment with God's plans, you know, spirit, source's plans. What's best for you isn't always what you think is best for you. But what's best for you is always better, because it's something that is in resonance with your soul and what's best for your soul evolution, which a lot of times what we think is best for us is because, you know, from our past experience and what other people have told us is best for us, not what is actually truly best for us. So, you know, yeah, it sucks that the house that you thought was your perfect dream home had all of these flaws, but it's actually like kind of awesome that you could rebuild the actual house that's perfect for you, you know? And because you have learned this important lesson here, you're able to know yourself a little bit deeper, and it allows you to move forward on more stable ground, especially when it comes to your emotions. Because with the Sun in Cancer card here and then the Moon in Sagittarius, Cancer is ruled by the Moon. And the Moon is our emotions, but the Moon is also things that are hidden, and it's our mother. So for some of you, it's like you're understanding things that you didn't before emotionally. And for some of you, it might even pull you a little bit closer to your mom. Like, I can give you 2 examples of this in my own life. So it's kind of crazy that when you're like 18, 19, you're just like supposed to like, you know, take out a gigantic loan, and you know, you're really, it's still a child, but you're thrust into adulthood, taking out a gigantic loan all of a sudden before you can even drink. And then you're just supposed to like choose your forever career. And, you know, some people know from childhood what they want to be. Most of us did not. I knew at that age that I was really good at like helping people. I have always known that I enjoy talking with people, and that I give really, really good advice. I'm really good at helping people. I've always been the friend that when they have some bullshit going on, when somebody and I love doing that. I'm the friend that we're at a party and things are really loud, but my friend is sad. I ask them like, what's wrong? And then like we go into another room and talk about what's wrong, you know, like really what's going on. And for you know, just have to choose a career right now. I went into psychology because I was like, my family, I come from a family of social workers. So I was like, I'll just be a counselor, you know, I'll just be a therapist. Maybe I'll go get a higher degree and become like a therapist. A psychologist. I never wanted to be a psychiatrist really. So that's what I thought I was going to be. And then I went into counseling. I did in-school counseling for several years. I started interning for counseling when I was 19, and I left that job when I was 26, I want to say 25, 26. And the way that I left that job was very much a tower in my life. But I knew for a long time that I could not do that job anymore. I loved that job, but working in schools is a very like uniform way of approaching, and like this is the way that it's done, and this is the way that's acceptable. And I felt like I would, you know, go from job to job trying to find the right fit, and I just felt like the roles and obligations that were put on me through the institution were not the best when it came to my clients, my children that I was working with. And I felt like, you know, when you're dealing with a child that's going through a major tragedy in their life and they're acting out in class, which, you know, obviously any person going through what some of my kids were going through in their personal lives I would, you know, have a meltdown too. I don't really think that yelling at them because they're not walking on the right side of the hallway, or, you know, getting mad at them because when they're venting about their family falling apart, they say the F word because they're upset. You know, I don't think that that's something that I need to get on to them about. I don't think that, you know, my 12-year-old that's already held back, I don't think that I should have to sit with him every single day and lunch because he's 12 and that's embarrassing for him, you know, to not only be the one that has a counselor, but the counselor doesn't allow him to have any sort of social time or interaction with his friends because that's what the principal wants. The principal does not want this child to ever be alone. You know, things like that really, really upset me. And I felt like not only did it hurt my relationship with my clients, it hurt the client themselves. So I was constantly kind of like going against that, not in a way that like, you know, I was a bad counselor. I didn't get fired. I was, it's hard. I was I worked for a company, but I was contracted into schools. So at the end of that contract, the school would decide if I would stay or to go. So with this one company I was in, the first year with that company at the end of that contract, they wanted a man. So they complained that, you know, they had more boys in that school than girl clients, and they felt like boys typically respond to men better because I was working with like 10-year-olds. So they start to go through that phase where they don't listen to women, they want a man. Second school I went into, they were absolutely awful. Their way of disciplining the children was to invite this child that was having issues into the principal's office and letting him play like Candy Crush on the principal's personal cell phone. That was his idea of a punishment. So yeah, when that's his punishment, he's going to act out every single day because he doesn't want to do math. He wants to play on the principal's phone. That was just a terrible, awful environment. So at the end of that, they didn't want me back because I did not follow every single rule that principal had, because the principal was a bad principal, honestly. And all the teachers talked shit about that principal. No one in that school liked that principal, but he was the only man that worked there, so he got to be principal. And he was he was not a nice person. He was not a good principal. He was awful. He was awful, and I felt like not every bit of work I did for that child, he did the opposite. And it was very upsetting for me because this child he was a boy, had a very bad, you know, he did not have a good, stable, masculine father figure at home. So he needed, you know, a good, stable father figure that this principal had an opportunity to be for him, and he did the exact opposite. You know, let's make this kid so awkward that he cannot be around other children, and when he is around other children, let's put a counselor 2 inches from him constantly. And I had like 5-6 clients in that school, and it got to where I could not see my other clients because they were so obsessed with this one kid. It was awful. It was so awful. It was torture. You get what I'm saying. It was absolute torture. I can over-explain. This is my video. I don't understand. This is helping. Click off. I don't understand. Why complain to a stranger? I think a lot of people like see that I have a YouTube channel, and it's like, they make your own YouTube channel. You can comment it below and I won't bother to watch it because I'm not an idiot that watches videos that I don't like and leaves rude comments for people. I don't have any, I don't have that kind of like unhappiness within myself. That's something you need to work on. And it's very apparent to everybody. It's crazy that you don't get that. Anyways, so this happened an entire school year. I'm dealing with this, and I'm so upset because it's literally like, and it was like job after job was like that. It's like I would get in trouble that like, Rachel, you're too close to the kids. Rachel, the kids look at you more like an older sibling than a person of authority. They like you. You're the best counselor we have. They all ask for you. The days that you're off, the kids are upset because you're the one they want to go to when they're upset. You're the one that actually helps them. You're the one that helps them feel like a kid. You're the one that encourages normal social interaction. You're the only counselor in this entire place that doesn't make them feel like the weird bad kid. But you're not following the institutional rules that we have that makes these kids feel like they're prisoners. So you're in trouble and you have to apologize for that. It was job after job after job. And it was like, I was getting so upset because it's more so than, a job. It's like these are children, and the way that you relate with kids is really important, especially kids that come from bad homes with parents that are openly don't want the kids, So I wanted to be the one person in that kid's life that they could rely on, and I was just constantly dealing with bullshit. Yeah, it's something that like it meant a lot to me, but it was killing me. It was killing me. So they couldn't fire me because I didn't do anything wrong. I was, when it comes to ratings from my clients, I was the best counselor there. I was the one that all the kids liked. Not all the kids, because, my personality is different. A lot of the boys had a thing. It's hard working with teenagers, especially being in your early 20s when you look young, So they did not have any reason to fire me. I was not fired, but it was a situation where we can't fire you, but we don't have a school open because that was your school and the principal has an issue with you. So we're going to send a man into that school because they have more boys, and we are going to find somebody that will follow all of these stupid rules to make the principal happy at the expense of the child that's suffering. So that was really hard for me because I didn't do anything wrong, and I stood up for myself and I fought for those kids, and I was punished for it. But it led me to what I do now. And, instead of helping, 5 kids a year advance, I get to help thousands of people that are grown kids that are, struggling in their own life. So I think that I can look back at that situation and see that as I did something wrong, but I didn't do anything wrong. I can look back at that situation and be glad that I did what I thought was best, and I think that I had the best impact that I could. And I think that in that situation, if I would have conformed to what they were asking me for the sake of, making this man that can't do his own job happy, it wouldn't have set right in my soul. So I did what I needed to do, and I did what I felt was best for that child. And I had to leave that position, but it was ultimately best for me to leave it because the type of person that they wanted was not me, and I have since gone on to continue to help people in a way that gives me the freedom that I needed to actually help people rather than, be a body filling a chair and following the rules set forth that are actually very detrimental to the development of the child. So that was a tower for me personally that I dealt with. I was going to tell you guys another tower, but I don't want to drag this on. I feel like that's a good example of a situation that I'm speaking about that really hurt me at the time, because I felt like at the time when you ask these kids how they feel about me, all of them genuinely love me and I genuinely love them, and I'm being punished because I let them cuss at me when they're mad because they need to get it out. But it taught me something about myself, that I don't need to conform to what other people are asking me to do if I feel like it's not rules are not because they're the best for everybody. Rules are there to give the illusion of order in a world that there is no order. There's divine order, but when it comes to, humanity, do we have control? No. And I think rules are not a way of gaining control over others. I think that they're a way of oppressing people more often than not. And I think that a lot of times those that speak up against oppression are often punished by, the people in control. But does that mean that we should not speak up? No. It means that you should continue to speak up and allow the consequences of that to kind of shape you and push you into better directions. So that's your reading, Cancer. I hope that was helpful, and I hope that little life story kind of gave you some perspective and a way to look at things that happen in your life, that although they can hurt sometimes, it's typically because I was never meant to be in that job, you know, and I think that I can look back and appreciate what it taught me and appreciate the relationships that I formed at the time. But I can also recognize that that wasn't the best fit for me, and it was time for me to move on, and I didn't want to give up on it because I didn't want to abandon my kids. And the you know, establishment failed me and the children through that. Honestly, I believe that they did. I think that it's important to have people that will stand up against what's wrong, and I think that they really took a loss, you know. So all right, guys, that is your reading. I hope that you have wonderful weeks. I'll see you again soon. Bye.